We came from tropical sailing with warm water and warm weather and minimal clothing. So this is different for us. The temperatures are freezing, the snow is piling up everywhere, and we live on a boat. But here's the thing, we're not cold. This vessel was built for all extremes, and after a few weeks of freezing temperatures, we're finally starting to understand what that really means. So come inside, I will put on the kettle, and we will show you how our boat stays so cozy.
Woo! I feel like I should just pop in here and say that we chose the most beautiful day to film, but we've endured plenty of days like this, sideways icicles and all. Now before we go and get all warm, there's actually a couple things I need to point out here. And the first one I'm walking on. It's our cork decking. So it is an excellent thermal insulator, so it keeps the cold air out and the warm air in, and it's surprisingly grippy even when it's wet. So this next one's something I had never heard of, and a lot of people that we've talked to in the industry have never even heard of it, which is totally surprising and not, because it's mostly for commercial vessels. The bottom paint on this boat is a hard coating. So it's not ablative, it's non-toxic, it doesn't slough off as you sail through the water. And apparently, according to the marketing, now granted I'm just saying this is because this is what the marketing says, it can go a long time without being cleaned. It will last a very long time, possibly decades, without being replaced. And if you wait an entire year between cleanings, hard growth won't be able to eat through it and damage your hull. And that is pretty awesome. And then the reason I'm talking about it in a winter video is because it's also ice rated. So when we go up to the north in the Arctic, we don't have to worry about the ice scratching off all of our bottom paint and having issues with our bottom, because nobody likes a dirty bottom. Okay, I think we're almost done out here. Yeah. Just two more things. Another huge thing about this boat is the insulation, which you can see on these hatches. It's throughout the entire boat. You can also see, because the snow isn't melting on the foredeck, that tells you that the heat inside the vessel is not escaping through the roof. So that snow buildup is actually a really good thing. I believe the insulation here is about 1.5 to 2 inches thick throughout the entire boat. From what I'm told, that's pretty good. Down here, let's see, how am I gonna best film and do this here? Here is a radiator, and we actually have 3 radiators in this aft area, one on each side and one in the engine room. And the reason there's radiators in the outside compartments is because it's protecting everything that's important. The generator and the engines. You don't want those to freeze, because when water freezes, it expands and it could possibly crack the water lift mufflers, and that could be huge damage to the engine and obviously into the bilges. There's also the fuel you don't want to get too cold. There's the batteries you don't want to freeze. Also in the engine room, we have strainers, water pumps, and all the coolant system that you don't want to get too cold either. That's why there's a radiator in there. I have a little Bluetooth sensor that keeps track of the temperatures. And I've seen, even though it's been down to 20 degrees, negative, I forget in Celsius, 20 degrees Fahrenheit, we have not frozen down here. So these radiators are working, and yeah, it's actually nice and toasty down here, surprisingly. Just a couple quick last things in here. This is the diesel heater. We'll talk more about that later. And then these red and blue lines are the glycol system that runs through the entire boat from the diesel heater. We have a couple requests for quotes in to get an enclosure back here. Because if we had an enclosure, it would warm up this space and make it usable almost year round, especially if we get a
small outdoor heater.
There's this outdoor heater that's like fully adjustable from 1500 watts down to like 200 watts. And we saw it at Metz, it was amazing. And it basically at 200 watts, it could warm up this whole area if it was enclosed. Imagine that, like watching glaciers and everything in the
Northern Lights?
Yeah.
Is it the Northern Lights this direction?
Yeah, north. We're going north.
Okay, yeah. Just checking.
So I think that's it. And then the last thing real quick, this is a fan, this is a vent, this is the exhaust. We have other vents here that are intakes. I'll explain that more inside. The door is super heavy duty, and it is well sealed, but we've had like 30 knots of wind blowing this way because we're tied up to a dock, which will never happen when you're on anchor. You won't get wind blowing this way for an extended period of time. Anyway, I noticed there was a little bit of an air gap, so we installed a little bit of extra weatherproof sealer. Sealing? Weatherproof stripping? I don't know what it's called. It's a weatherproof thingy.
It's a weather.
So now it is totally sealed in here, at least from the door. So please go in and get warm.
Right. Welcome aboard. It is nice and warm in here, which is probably the first of the three things that we are concerned with when we're winter boating is heat, trying to create it and then retain it, keeping it warm. And then the next would be keeping our systems from freezing, which Jason sort of talked about out there with the water lift muffler and our batteries. But of course, then you come inside here, we have got water pipes running all through here. We've got holding tanks and all sorts of other systems that also don't like to be frozen. And then the last, which is the biggest by far, is condensation. And condensation is a really tough one whenever it comes to winter boating. And we know this because now we've stayed aboard this vessel for couple of months now, and then our very first vessel was a sailing catamaran, and we spent 2 winters in New Zealand aboard that boat. And woo, that was a shocker. We'd come from the tropics, we sailed to New Zealand in the winter. It was during the pandemic. We won't go there too much, but we woke up the very first day that we had on the boat and the decks were solid ice. We had sheets of ice on all throughout the ceilings. There was like just condensation all over the walls. Our bilges were filling up with water as well. Not that dramatic, but there was a lot of water in there. And it was insane how much water had built up just over, like the first 24 hours of being back on the boat. And then through those 2 seasons, it was an ongoing thing of consistently wiping the ceilings down, wiping the walls down. It had to be done every morning, usually in the afternoon, right before the sun would go down. Yeah, it would start to kind of that temperature difference. Boy, that was the struggle to get that one out. Would really create all that condensation. Plus just us breathing, laundry, bathing, all the things. It's all a lot of moisture. So it was such a battle on that boat. Enduring that let us know that was not the right boat to try to take any further south, right? We were as cold as we needed to get in a vessel like that. Now here we are in a proper Explorer yacht that is intended for all climates and to go anywhere. And there is such a difference in that. And I won't go into like the full monologue of what that really means because that's probably like a whole separate video. Just know that the intentional design right from the get-go makes a huge difference. And boy, are we going to be able to show you some of that today.
Welcome to the winter in the Netherlands. It's already getting dark and it's only 4 o'clock outside. It's 4 o'clock inside too, I guess I should be clear about that. Anyway, don't judge me. Let's just start where I left off on the Cabola heater. Our heater brand is a Cabola, and according to the Dutch, it is like the gold standard of marine heaters. So this is where we control it. It's just a standard thermostat. But the magic is you'll see little grates throughout the boat, and under those grates are radiators. So it is radiant heat, and it is way, way more efficient than forced air heaters. So it is just pumping a fluid through the entire boat. So we have fluid going under the floor. So we have heated floors. We have all these pipes running through the boat, so all the sides of the boat are getting heated. And then it's pumping out lots of heat through these radiators. The Cabola runs off of diesel, and it's plumbed into the same fuel tank that we have to run the engine. And it is over 90% efficient. So it just sips fuel. So keeping this place warm doesn't burn a lot of fuel. It's very efficient, and it's quiet.
Like I said earlier, we are coming from tropical weather sailing. So we are getting to know more about this vessel and high latitude exploration every day. And it's exciting, but also overwhelming because there's just so much to think about and do, but it's all good. Like even the overwhelming feelings are the good kind that just simply come from taking on a new project. And for the first time in a long time, we feel like we're in a really good place and excited about all the possibilities and adventures ahead, which is really good progress and kind of insane when you think about it, because This time last year, we had just finished up probably the most stressful time of our lives, and mentally we were exhausted, which left us physically feeling exhausted. And thanks to today's sponsor, BetterHelp, it gives me the perfect opportunity to share a few of the things that helped us through that stressful time. Because there were plenty of days where we felt like we were right on the verge of a complete breakdown. And the first was a change of environment. You may remember that we took a little trip to Belgium, and that step away and that break was really good. And then breathing, short meditations, or a quick yoga session. And then finally, walking. Oh my goodness, we took so many walks. Anytime either one of us felt like we were right on the edge of just losing it, we would step outside and go for a walk, even if it was just down the dock and back, or sometimes it could be an hour long. And I am not kidding, some days we probably took 10 or more walks in a day, whatever we needed to do. And it seems super simple and basic, but in the moment, those things are what kept us sane. And some of those things, like the meditation, are things that my therapist turned me on to a while back that have stuck. And trust me, I resisted the whole meditation thing super hard. Even now, I am still not into like the long meditations. I just can't do it. But like a 1 to 5 minute session can bring such a sense of calm to a chaotic situation. And while our stress levels are back to normal now, it is nice to know that therapy is available anytime from anywhere. Because BetterHelp is completely online, making it super easy and convenient to get started. You just go to their website, you answer a few questions, and they will match you to a professional if it's your needs and preferences. And you get the same quality as you would with an in-office therapist, but with the ability to schedule live sessions by phone or video, and you can message your therapist anytime. And if for some reason you don't feel like that therapist is a good fit, BetterHelp makes it easy to switch at any time for no additional cost. If you're struggling with something and you think you benefit from a therapy session, then just click the link down in the description box below, or you can head over to betterhelp.com/gonewiththewynns, and they will give you 10% off your first month of therapy. All right, back to heating.
We also have electric heating, which is ducted throughout the boat, and it's essentially an air conditioner with a heat pump. And that works great as long as the water is above 40 degrees, which right now it is not. So we have a little backup space heater. Now, this is just the basic one that we ordered right away. There are better ones, but you know, when we're plugged into shore power, we can run this thing, keep one area a little bit warmer if we want to save on diesel. So it's not a bad idea to have something like
Yeah,
this.
exactly. Makes us hybrid.
Yeah, hybrid. And then up here, well, speaking of condensation, we have one thing that we're still working on, and that is insulating these hatches. We used to live in an RV, and we traveled all over the place during the winter especially. We go snowboarding in the mountains in Colorado. We went up to Alaska in a blizzard, and we endured a lot of winters. And they had these, I don't know what you call them. They were like fabric covered foam pieces. And they would keep condensation from coming down, and they would keep your heat from going out. I haven't found anything for marine, and it's the same exact thing. So I think we're just gonna have to make our own. Right now, I am trying out Reflectix, which is this silver.
Is Reflectix a brand, or is that a thing?
I don't know. It's basically the bubble wrap, because this is all we could find at the hardware store here. We can make something. I think we will, because this seems to be working a lot. It is reducing the condensation by quite a bit. So now I'm just getting a tiny bit. It does accumulate every now and then, and I've got a little drop that just happened over here. These condensate because they're not double paned and they're aluminum framed. So the aluminum is touching the aluminum, and that's the main thing that condensates. In fact, right now, I think this is covered in snow. You can't even see out of it. So this is definitely helping a lot. But if you know of a perfect solution before we go reinventing the wheel and ordering foam and fabric and everything and sewing things together, let us know in the comments below, because maybe there is something that exists that I just haven't found yet. I've only been looking for 2 weeks. So then while I'm up here, there is a defroster. So there's fans built in and air that blows on the windshield. So then when we're up here drinking hot cocoa or coffee while we're cruising in frigid weather, we don't have to worry about these windows fogging over. And then I guess maybe the last thing is this is a spotlight, which is also great, but I'm also dealing with condensation there.
This metal.
This works perfectly. Yeah, it's metal on metal in between the aluminum roof structure. But this has been working perfectly. No drips since I put this up there like a month ago.
Yeah, just tiny bit of insulation does the trick.
That's it. That's why I really think the foam's going to work perfectly up here.
And speaking of windows, most of all of our windows are double paned windows. So we don't have to really worry about the condensation or the heat loss or the cold transferring in, because they do a really good job. Like, these windows, they're cool, but they're not freezing and they're not cold, which is also why you don't see a bunch of condensation on these. So we don't have any issues with all of our big windows. They do a really wonderful job. It's just the hatches, the port lights, and then we do have a small section of a single pane window only in our cabin, but it's the little windows. If anybody does have any tips for that, we've read about a film that's almost like a static cling film or something like that, or like a sticky back film that you can put onto the window, and it is supposed to give sort of like a double pane effect. If anybody out there has actually used that and you have any feedback on it, would love to know, or if you've got something better. And then moving on to ventilation, because I almost forgot, Jason pointed out the vent outside. Well, there's an air gap in between the hull of the vessel and our walls, and that's because they put ventilation running through the entire boat, so we have airflow. Now, granted, there is also insulation directly on the hull itself. It's a closed cell spray foam that does a really great job of adhering to the aluminum so that it doesn't hold any condensation back there. It helps keep our heat in or the heat out, depending on which environment you are in. Either way, it's a good insulator. So the boat stays really warm or really cool. And then if there is any condensation, there is a fan that is running and circulating air through there all the time, and through
all of the walls, the ceiling,
the floor, the walls, everything. So there is always airflow happening all the time, and that is so incredibly important because moisture really is the enemy all the time.
It's a really awesome.
It sounds crazy because you live on the water, but it's you need to keep the water outside, not inside. And then to anybody that lives in a house, everybody has one of these. It seems like no big deal. In a boat, never had one until we've been on this boat. Typically, they just tell you, oh, open a hatch while you're cooking or open the door or something like that, which is fine when it's all nice and sunny outside. Not so great if it's raining, snowing, freezing outside. So having a proper vent that actually goes outside and vents outside, taking all that moisture outside, is also a really big deal. Also for the safety and the health of all the people in here, because you should always vent while cooking. Is that it on ventilation? That was everything? Nope. I remembered one more. It is in the bedroom, so come with me. Welcome to the owner's cabin. Got all of our big heavy coats lined up here. There's actually a coat rack under there. Just looks like a wall of coats. Anyway, that's not what we're in here for. Okay, so airflow. Oh, there is one more really important one, and we actually have one of these in the main area as well, the salon. But the dorades, which you can see outside, they're kind of those big crazy scoop looking things on the front and up on the top of the boat. Very cool, because that means water doesn't come in, but airflow can. So right now we have them closed because it is winter and we don't want that cold air coming in. And it is incredible, like you can't feel any air right now, but if I open these, woo, feel that Arctic chill. It's cold out there. So they're not like a perfect seal, which is great because as we're sleeping in here with all of our big, nice, fuzzy blankets and coziness, breathing hot air, it has somewhere to escape.
Why are you breathing hot air?
Why?
Ooh la la. C'est bon.
Don't you want to know? Yeah. So dorades are really awesome. We have 4 of them in here, plus we have 2 hatches. So that is an insane amount of airflow. So that also tells me if we go into a warm climate where it is hot, it's going to be cool in here. It's going to be no problem. So airflow is a big thing on this boat. It was one of the reasons we really liked it and wanted it. Okay, I think I'm done now.
Each cabin has radiant heat, and each head has radiant heat as well in the form of a towel warmer. So this is great because when you get out of the shower, your towels are wet. This dries it very quickly, and also when you're in the shower and you grab your towel, it's nice and crispy warm. So definitely a big bonus. And then there is ventilation as well in each of the heads. So there's a fan that circulates the air and moisture out after you shower. I believe that is it about the diesel heater. Oh, yeah, let me show you one thing. These are the windows that we're struggling with because they are the single pane ones Nikki talked about. So we have these little cloths right here, and that just captures any water that rolls down. Until we get that sorted, that's our solution. Hopefully you have a better one.
Yeah, it's low tech, it works, but you know, there's got to be something better.
We are enjoying our moment of Hygge, which is a term that we've become familiar with up here in these cold months. It's basically like a warm hug. It's taking the time to enjoy a little bit of, extra moment of joy and sweaters,
comfort and cozy.
And
I think in one of the, it's like a Scandinavian thing. So like the Danish have it. I think it means like comfort or cozy. Yeah. And then there's like a Norwegian version.
The Dutch have their own version, but it's this comfortable time that just makes you want to linger and enjoy a little bit longer. And that's definitely what we've been doing here in this dark, early sunsetting, cold time.
Winter.
Mm-hmm. Just enjoying, taking at least a minute to enjoy.
Yeah, for sure. Find yourself snuggling up with a blanket, even though it's not necessarily cold. It's like the cozy thing. Yeah. Like you want to just kind of get snuggly, and you have your cup of tea, and you kind of just relax for a minute. It's a very Scandinavian thing to do. I dig it. I'm all about
cultured.
It. So cultured. We are enjoying their culture. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. And we are going to be spending, hopefully, a lot more time in this whole region of the world, which will include some days of not snow. During the summertime, it will be
endless sunshine.
Yes, exactly. Can be. Yeah. A lot of sunshine. It could be very warm. We absolutely will still have t-shirt and shorts, and hopefully getting in the water here. So. I will adjust. Yeah. Definitely worth snorkeling, swimming. I don't know. I've seen everybody else's videos from people who live there in Sweden and Norway and Greenland and Iceland and everything else, and the summers look pretty spectacular. I'm gone off on a tangent, but I can't help myself.
She just start with the Hygge, and she just goes.
Getting too comfortable.
Yeah, but I think it kind of brings us back to this boat, and it's because of the way this boat was built and the way it's designed, it really makes us feel at home, even though we've only lived here for a couple months now.
Yeah, and also just how cozy and comfortable it is. It's been, it's snowing again outside right now, and that's so wild because considering our other vessels, and especially like those 2 winters in New Zealand, it was not this way on our first boat because the boat wasn't built for it. And that's what I kind of touched on earlier, which is like what makes an Explorer yacht an Explorer yacht is sort of a bigger discussion for its own separate video maybe one day. But when it comes to like freezing temperatures, like materials matter.
Yeah, materials really matter. And this boat is made out of 7mm thick aluminum, which is very strong.
Yeah.
And if you are talking about a fiberglass or carbon fiber boat, then in freezing temperatures, those materials can become more brittle. Mm-hmm. So when you see people in videos that are sailing in the Arctic, they're pushing pieces of ice away, and they're doing that because the threat is very real. Those little shards of ice can chip away at their bottom paint and then even at their hull, and then if they impact a big one,
and a big one, by a big one I mean from the top it may only look like a small pebble, right, or a small rock, but
below it could be much larger, and in freezing temperatures
it won't take much.
That impact is not good. And that's something that we shouldn't have to worry about.
Right. And that was one of the reasons we wanted like the right tool for the job. We knew we wanted to explore, the extreme latitudes of the world pretty extensively, and to do that for any time period and not be stressed out the whole time and have the comfort of leaving your vessel to explore for the day is having a really strong hull. But it goes beyond that. So it's not just like impact resistance. It's also like the material and how it behaves. Because when you've got those freezing and thawing cycles.
I'm laughing because I'm wondering if she can remember what it's called.
Look, I know the basics of it, which is I'm worried about blistering and delamination. And that word I definitely know because we had a little bit of that on our last boat. And it can make you panic as a boat owner because those blisters can come, like on fiberglass especially, even if it doesn't have anything to do with your coring or anything like that. If the water intrusion gets in there, it causes little bubble blisters. Now I'm going to get tongue-tied.
Osmotic. It's called osmotic. Shoot. Dang it, I was giving a hard time and I forgot. Hold on, I'm going to have to look.
Let's see. Here.
Osmotic blistering. There you go.
I was so close.
You were halfway there.
I was halfway there.
So osmotic blistering. So if it gets water intrusion, then the water freezes, and then it can create bubbles in there, which is really, really bad. And then for cored vessels, so whether that's foam core or wood core.
Yeah, we had balsa core on our Leopard.
Boat, yeah. And then if water gets in there, then it freezes, and then it creates bubbles, and then you get that delamination.
Well,
from
when it freezes,
the coring.
it expands, and then that's what causes the delamination. That much I remember, because we had it on our decks, and then they have to go in there. If it's not real bad, they can put a filler in there, like an epoxy, I think, right? Yeah, and then it just creates that seal again. But if it gets really bad, like, kind of your hull is trash. So it is a bit of it's not a fun word to hear. As a boater, that's for sure. Yeah. I feel like corrosion and delamination are like words you're like, it's taking the stress and the relaxation right out of my no. Moving on. Yeah. So anyway, there are other considerations to having an aluminum hull, and we feel like having the boat that we do hopefully will provide us with less stress in those environments if you maintain everything well. So it's not just the material, it's the insulation and so many other things that go into it. But
and what makes our boat especially good for cold weather is the 7mm aluminum and the closed cell foam insulation, thick closed cell foam insulation.
Yes.
Now, it is built for going where we want to go, and that's what drew us to this boat in the first place.
Yeah, and we say that mostly because if you are just curious or trying to understand the difference, like for us, we really we knew there was a difference and we wanted to understand it better, and we slowly have, especially spending time on other people's yachts, especially trawlers and everything else. Everybody we've learned a little bit from, and we keep learning more every single day we're on this boat.
But now we're living it, and now we're seeing it firsthand, because this is the biggest snow that we've seen, you know, on this boat, on a boat, period. Yeah. And here it's not even normal. We was talking to the guys at the yard, and they're like, this is not normal. This is beautiful. So,
it is a winter wonderland outside. It is crazy.
Yeah. And, you know, it's starting to snow right now, and we're just, like, I've got a sweater on, which I can almost take off because it's so comfortable in here. We're not even wearing shoes, just socks.
Yep. So, very cozy, and everything else, I feel like the biggest thing so far, we're early days here, but so far is the windows and the condensation, and that's just because of those aluminum frames. It's the single pane window, which isn't the biggest thing. It's the aluminum frame around it.
Aluminum on aluminum with zero insulation. So I think this is maybe where we can turn it over to you, because we are just learning, and we have not lived in this sort of environment. I had to look up radiant heat and what that was.
Because it's been so long.
Well, and we never had a house with radiant heat.
No, we didn't.
We never had anything with radiant heat. So we're learning all these systems. So if you have been living in the winter wonderland your entire life, if you've been living on a boat and an RV, please share in the description box, or not the description box. That's what we fill out.
That is what we fill out. Yeah, in the comment section. Yes, down in the comment section, or if you're on our website, then down in the comments on our blog. But if you've got tips, things we could do better, something you've noticed today, like, we're up for the suggestions.
We would love to hear it. Yeah,
because we're just getting started, so we haven't gone anywhere yet. We're still in the world of like supplies and helpers and everything else.
We're preparing the boat for those Arctic adventures. So
exactly.
We have time.
I think that's it for us.
Yes, definitely. Yes. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being a part of our adventure. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit about cold life on a boat, staying warm, what you need.
Not that, maybe you learned something interesting. Maybe it was just entertaining. Maybe you're done with us now.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.